Right,
We're live. Okay.
somebody open up the door for the chat room. James, open up the door. Let other people in. They must be locked out. Let's be
Okay. So
tough
let
in
me
the
check this.
parking lot. Okay.
Okay.
And welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard, everybody. Everyone. The thousands that are in the chat room trying to get in, trying to grab a seat. Come on in, take a seat, wipe your seat off. And that's what we got. So good morning to you all on a lovely Sunday morning. And the final day of is it the final day? The final day of the baseball season is here. And let's do a little playoff recap, right? Playoff recap. The 2021 American League East, second division ever with 490 or more win teams. We could have a spectacular day today and maybe even a spectacular day in the future, right, Andy?
Every day is a spectacular day, Leonard.
And of course, in the National League West, that's the first division ever with two teams that have won 105 or more games. A fantastic season that it's been. What's the got the standings there in the American League? Get those handy?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, yeah, I do actually. What about it?
Well, say it.
The standings? I'm not going to say all the standings. I'm just going to tell you
Are
that
you
this.
reading the notes, the standings?
Oh,
Current
you're.
wild card standings. The Yankees are 91 and 70. The Red Sox are 91 and 70. Seattle is 90 and 71. Toronto is 90 and 71. There could be a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's a four-way tie for two spots possible. Four-way for
Not.
two spots. There's a three-way tie for two spots, a three-way tie for the second spot, a
These are
two-way tie for the two spots, and a two-way tie for the second. I mean, it's going to be crazy.
these are the possibilities, right?
Of course, it's the
Okay. Well,
possibility.
you just. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is going well. So let me just say something about these four teams. Out of these four teams, which team do you think has the best run differential?
Oh, I would say,
It's over twice as much.
yeah, I would
Wait,
say the best run differential is Toronto. Okay, without a doubt.
okay. They rank third in the American League, right behind Houston and Tampa Bay, and their run differential is more than twice. It's more than twice the next in line. So it goes Toronto 175. Okay, then you have Boston with 78. The Yankees have 41, and Seattle has negative 47. And I just thought that was an interesting point to make about these four teams that could. I all I could say is last night Seattle was on fire. The ballpark was on fire. Okay, the fans were everywhere and they were so loud. And you know Seattle is known for having good fans that are very loud, especially in football. But when you know this is a situation where the Mariners have a chance to make the playoffs for the first time in I don't even know how long, but I do know that it's longer than any other team in any of the four major sports in the country: football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. There is no team that's gone longer without a playoff spot than the Seattle Mariners. And last night, I'm not kidding. I cannot sit and watch a game for very long. I just get like sidetracked and do other things. But it really captivated me, and they were losing, and then all of a sudden, no, first they were winning against the Angels 3-1, and then all of a sudden, here comes like Jared Walsh. It was either Walsh or Brandon Marsh, but I think it was Jared Walsh hits a home run, and now the score is 4-3. Okay, it going into like one of the late innings, and so then Henniger comes up and he drives in some runs, so now it's 5-4, and then it went back and forth a couple times, and I have to say, like this, the Mariners really did try to lose yesterday. I felt so
What
horrible
do you
for the
mean they tried to lose?
they did. They
What does
tried,
that mean?
like they made that effort to lose the game when they had it in the bag. And of
Oh,
course,
come on, man.
I'm not saying that like literally that they tried to lose. I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it looked like never mind.
The
Whatever.
only
Just go
person
on. Obviously, it's not important.
the only person who lost was the gal doing the interview after the game.
They're horrible interviewers. These people put zero effort into coming up with reasonable, I mean, at least interesting questions. Like, it's the same question about 5 or 6 times, just rephrased. Like, how do you feel? How did it make you feel to hear all the fans here tonight? How did it make you feel to have drive in 5 runs? How do you feel about the Mariners and blah blah blah? And it's like, lady, did you like even bother to put any effort into these questions at all?
how, did,
Just,
how did it feel to win?
I
That's
mean,
the dumbest question. I feel okay. Only problem is I got jock itch, and that bothers me a little bit. So if I didn't have
geez.
jock itch, I'd be okay. I'd be feeling 100%. Right
Yeah,
now, I'm feeling about 50%.
or
Right?
like I'm fighting with my girlfriend right now and I don't feel that great, but
Yeah.
whatever. How about a question such as, tomorrow the Mariners are facing so and so pitcher and you guys are putting this pitcher on the mound and this is how you hit against this
Right.
pitcher.
Yep.
How do you plan to approach, going up against this guy? It's so lazy that,
Well, yep.
yeah.
Very hard to come up with great questions, but
It isn't.
how do
It
you
isn't.
feel has to be eliminated.
It's the worst question, okay? So let's
That
just
is,
narrow it
that's
down
the
to
worst.
that.
Now, if the Red Sox win Sunday,
Yeah.
no matter what happens elsewhere, they will host the wild card game,
Yep.
right? Red
Yeah.
Sox will host the wild card game. And there's something interesting about all these new rules, Andy, right?
Yeah, if they go into extra innings in the postseason, there's nobody going to be free running from second base.
So there's
Nobody.
not going to have that. It's going to be just the regular old fashioned baseball rules.
Yep.
I don't think anybody has talked about that. The regular old fashioned rules. They're not putting runner on second base. They're not playing 7 innings. They're just going on natural to play Major League Baseball. So that is good news.
There's some
That
interesting
is good
matchups
news.
today, though, because it comes down to this one game for these 4 teams, and you have the Yankees going up against. Well, first of all, the Red Sox have it made in the shade. They're putting up Chris Sale versus a kid that's making his major league debut in Washington. The Nationals have been just a horrific mess since the trade deadline, but it's Chris Sale against Joan Adon. He's making his
Right.
major league debut, so that is the easiest game. And like you said, if they win today, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. They will have home field advantage to start the playoff games for the wild card game, at
Right.
least. Okay, now then you have Tampa Bay, okay, Michael Wacha going up against Yankees, Jameson Taillon, who has had a decent season. But you know what, dude? Since August, his ERA is over 5. That his last 8 starts have just been horrific, right? He's still striking out batters, but he's allowing home runs. It's just bad. It's 5.13 ERA over the last 8 starts. So that's pretty sketchy, even though he does get to go up against Michael Wacha. Wacha isn't really going to be a huge factor in this game anyway, because they have so many pitchers that they could put in. And then you have Seattle Mariners.
Seattle Mariners going
Tyler
against.
Anderson
Right.
against Reed Detmers. Tyler Anderson is an opener recently. Like he's been pitching. I think he's been pitching like 3 innings every time he goes out there. Every start he goes out there. So that's interesting because who's going to relieve him? Kikuchi is horrible right now. He hasn't pitched hardly at all.
But I have a big problem with this game.
But
Big problem.
The Seattle bullpen is pretty good.
Okay, but I have a big problem, and I wonder if anybody, Anthony D.B. Miller, Dogman is here, Eddie Heckman, James Caprion, Malpal. I wonder if anybody has something to say about this. The Angels are pitching, as you said, Reed Detmers against Tyler Anderson.
Yeah.
I do believe Shohei Ohtani should be pitching. There's a moral obligation for a team playing another team where it has some meaning in the game. All the other games in Major League Baseball have very little meaning. This game means that Shohei Ohtani should be pitching over Reed Detmers. What do you think? Madden ruled Ohtani out a couple of days ago. But with the game on the line for Seattle, you got to pitch Reed Detmers for the you got to pitch Shohei Ohtani over Reed Detmers. What do you think?
I mean, in the overall scheme of things, I think that your point is very right for sure. And, Ohtani's been fabulous all the way up till now. He's not injured. He's, I just don't see. I would be very annoyed too if I were on any one of the teams of Boston, Yankees, or Toronto.
Yep, you gotta pitch Ohtani. Then Baltimore goes with Bruce Zimmerman against Hyun-Shin Ryu. They can't do better than Bruce Zimmerman, so I'm not criticizing that. I wonder why the Yankees are not going all in with Garrett Cole. You think if Taillon doesn't look well, do you think Garrett Cole is going to come in after like the third inning to replace Taillon?
And Garrett Cole, I really hate to break it to you, but Garrett Cole hasn't been.
No, he hasn't. It's a tough one.
He hasn't been really key either. So, I mean, it's a crapshoot. But I do think that there's absolutely zero leash here in this situation. That if Taillon comes out and he's not good off the bat, he's going to be yanked early. So, who do they put in to take over? Maybe Garrett Cole will go in. I mean, that is not out of the realm of possibility here.
All right, we're saying.
But do you remember? Okay, hold on, I have two things.
Go ahead. You do have two things, and they're both pretty.
Two reminders.
Yes.
Okay, two reminders. Back at the trade deadline, I said who's going to be the sneaky team to be the buyers.
You said it.
And I'm sure that I'm the only one in the whole world that thought that Seattle even stood any chance in hell of being where they are. In fact, I actually gave up on them recently. Maybe I actually gave up on them not too long after that because I really didn't think at that point that Seattle, I was pretty much ruling them out. And Toronto, I've been a big fan of Toronto all year. Look at this team. They're just amazing. I think that Toronto is a better team right now than Red Sox or Yankees. And that's because they have George Springer. And regardless of their record with and without George Springer, he's huge to that team and means a lot. So their addition of what's his name from Minnesota with a B?
I don't know.
The pitcher that came over to Toronto from Minnesota Twins. Oh, never mind.
All right.
That was a great ad too.
There's a lot of good
Berrios.
Yeah, that's right. Berrios.
All right.
And Malpal agrees. He says it's Ohtani's turn in the rotation. He's healthy. It's pretty weak that he's not starting. I think this is a major, major situation. On the other side,
Ohtani, dude, made a comment that he wants to win. When somebody asked him about staying with the Angels, he said, I want to win. Well, I mean, I don't blame him for wanting to win, but here's the team that signed you and dealt with all your injuries and paid you for years, and they're finally getting you healthy now, and you're going to leave for the most.
And of course, in rivalries, the Yankees and the Red Sox right up there. Ohio State, Michigan, Army, Navy. What other great rivalries? You know what they are. But the Yankees
and the Cardinals.
Yep, Yankees and Red Sox could have a one-game wild card playoff on Tuesday at Fenway Park.
Dodgers and Giants.
The Dodgers and Giants, and they could have a playoff rivalry as well. They could have a playoff game too. It's coming down to the greatest MLB season in history, and of course, in the National League, the Dodgers grabbed the share of their ninth consecutive National League West title. They are playoff, but they must beat Milwaukee again on Sunday and hope that the rival first place Giants lose again to San Diego to tie for the title. That would send the Giants and the Dodgers in game 163. So these 163 games actually count in fantasy baseball,
What do you mean they count?
Game 163, if there's a tie between the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Giants, and they play game 163, it counts towards fantasy baseball stats.
Oh.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It counts towards fantasy. I also don't like the fact that Philadelphia, now, of course, you're talking about Ohtani. Did the Angels have an obligation to pitch Ohtani? I think the consensus would be yes. Here's my other thing. Zach Wheeler was scheduled to pitch. He's going to be not rested. He's He's not pitching.
So he's done for the season?
Yeah. So but here's my thing.
Okay.
Do you think there's some kind of an obligation? I mean, when baseball was down, some people have said that it was fantasy sports that helped bring baseball back, and gambling and all that stuff. Is there any kind of an obligation, fantasy wise, to pitch that best pitcher in Zach Wheeler on Sunday? I have Wheeler on all three of my teams. His performance won't mean anything to me, but if it did, I would be really annoyed.
Well, why would he? I don't know. He's done the.
He's done, but
okay. First of all, you're out of your mind. Nobody cares about the fantasy.
Well, they should. That's the whole
to
point.
Fantasy people.
Fantasy helped baseball get back on its feet.
Bullshit.
Oh, what do you mean bullshit?
What do you mean fantasy helped baseball get back on its feet? That's bunch of malarkey.
No, bull dinky and poppycock. I was there in 1997 at the All-Star game, and it really helped. All right, fantasy sports really helped baseball come back from the strike. Now, if the Dodgers beat the Brewers and the Padres beat the Giants, the National League West will finish in a tie. The Giants will host the Dodgers on Monday, game 163.
Okay, well, your hopes for the Dodgers, they got to come to an end at this point because the Giants they're obviously going to continue they're going to win the division. They would have to lose and the Dodgers have to win. Okay, but here's the thing I want to bring up about the Dodgers.
Yeah, good morning to Rotorius, by the way.
Hi,
Didn't say hello to Rotorius. Good morning.
Julio Urias is probably I would say that the chances are 99. I don't know if there's even any other pitcher that could reach 20 wins this season because he is the only pitcher in baseball to reach 20 wins. Nobody would have guessed that going into the season. Nobody.
Absolutely.
He hasn't lost a game since June 21st in San Diego, and he's 11-0 with a 2.03 ERA since June 21st.
So who are you taking next year, Buehler or Urias first? You got Buehler or Urias? Who are you taking first?
First, I'll take Buehler. I guess you have to take Buehler first because that's the market that's going to be.
You really? You think so? No, Urias.
You think people are going to draft Julio Urias ahead of? I mean,
I'm not saying
whether or not they should. I'm saying, do you think that they will?
It's like I put up a poll in a mixed league. This is the Malpal question. I finally put up the poll in a mixed roto league. Do you take Mullins or do you take Trout?
Well, see, that's the beauty of the fantasy baseball market price because that's really what it comes down to is how much are people willing to spend on Mullins, and it's probably a lot less than they're willing to spend on Trout just because of name recognition.
So Trout coming off the injury, Mullins goes 30-30, hits 300, 30-30.
Right.
Trout's not going to steal more than 10 bases next year. 30 stolen bases, 25 to 30 home runs. Mm-hmm. How do you not take Mullins over Trout? But you can't do it.
Longevity.
Well, you never know. Now, Urias is the first pitcher in his age 24 season or younger to win 20 or more games in a season since Clayton Kershaw did it.
That's the Dodgers only, though.
Yeah, okay. All right. It's incredible. He's the sixth youngest Dodger on the 40-man roster, and yet he's got the fifth longest tenure on the Dodgers. They have built a tremendous. Laura is here.
Hi, Laura.
Laura is here. Good morning to Laura. So how about that?
So when people come to the chat room, do you wait 20 or 30 seconds before you say hi to them so that you know that they're actually hearing you say hi to them?
I don't know, but I'll say hi to Laura 100 times. I don't give.
I'm asking you if you wait at all, or do you just say hi when their name pops up because they probably haven't had a chance to push play on the.
I know. I get so excited when I see some of the names.
You should give it a few seconds.
All right, we'll give it. Anthony D.B. Miller, Chris Gallo is here. Good morning to Chris, Dogman, Eddie Ekman, James Caprion. Laura is here. Malpal is here. Wow, we are rocking and rolling. Rotorius is here as well. Now, Trey Turner. Wow, what a trade. And don't forget, on the 9 a.m. show during the week, we're going to talk about the worst trades in Major League Baseball history. I don't care what year. I don't care what. Until this year, we probably thought the Tyler Glasnow, Shane Batts, and Austin Meadows deal in exchange for Chris Archer. that, Robert G., good morning to you. That may have been the number one, but I wonder. Trey Turner, 2 for 4, extends his career high 18-game hitting streak and all but locks up the National League batting title with a 328 average.
Okay, I got to say something here, though, because when I saw that note, I started digging and I said to myself, I wonder how many, since this is the last day and all, I said, how many batters have reached 2020 this season? And I'll let you have a guess.
I would say 4. Right? 4?
9.
Oh,
Okay.
9. Okay.
Okay, hold
That's
on a
pretty
minute,
good.
though. And how many of those, how many of those have reached 30-30?
2.
Who?
1. Mullins is the only one I can say. Mullins and Turner.
Mullins is the only one to reach 30-30. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
But you do have a chance, that if Trey Turner steals 3 bases today, he'll do it.
That's pretty interesting. I bet he gives it a try. Fascinating.
Now, one other thing. Who do you think has the most what was I doing? Never mind. Go on. I was going to talk more about some 30-30 and 2020 guys. I can't believe that Ozzie Albies
he's up there.
He's got 30 homers and 20 stolen bases with 105 RBIs and 102 runs. I did say how many players reached 100 RBIs and 100 runs.
We've got some fantastic nuggets coming up. Let's get finished with the playoff
How many hitters?
How many what?
How many hitters reached 100 runs and 100 RBIs this year?
2.
3.
Mm-hmm.
Bichette, Albies.
Yeah, and
Jose Ramirez. That's it.
All right. Interesting.
Yes,
and of course,
ahead.
you still got Juan Soto, who went 0 for 3 yesterday, dropped his average to 315, and Turner's going to become the first Dodger to win a batting title since Tommy Davis.
Why does he? Wait a minute. Why does he get a batting title for what?
What do you mean, National League batting title?
Trey Turner?
Yeah, he was in the National League the whole time.
Okay.
All right, he was in Washington. Now he's with the Dodgers.
Right, but isn't Tatis that he has better stats than Trey Turner?
He doesn't have a better batting average than Trey Turner.
Is that what wins?
It's just batting average wins the batting average.
Okay.
Soto is second. He's batting 315. And so here's the deal. If Soto batting 315 goes 6 for 6 today, Trey Turner would have to go 0 for 8 to lose the batting title. How about that one? Who was the last Dodger player to win a batting crown and a stolen base crown like Trey Turner is going to win? Who's the last Dodger to win a stolen base crown and a batting crown?
Why is he going to get the stolen base crown?
Because he has more stolen bases than anybody.
No, he doesn't.
Who does?
He just doesn't.
Who does?
Oh, I guess he does. 32.
He won the Jackie Robinson did it in 1949.
That's only in the National League, right?
I'm just talking National League. That's all.
Okay.
National League. A lot of that. Corbin Burns.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to talk Trey Turner out of the awards. I just wasn't. Yeah. I guess I wasn't clear on how it works.
And it looks like Corbin Burns has assured himself of the ERA title. He came out after 2 innings and 3 runs, kept the ERA lead 243 to 246 over Max Scherzer.
Corbin Burns, he has the 3rd most strikeouts in baseball this season. Who do you think has the more strikeouts than Corbin Burns in the National? Well, it's not just the National League, but the 2 pitchers that have more strikeouts than Corbin Burns are in the National League.
Okay, and who would that be? That would be Robbie Ray.
Nope.
Robbie Ray?
I said National League.
I know. I think you might be wrong. I think Robbie Ray may have more strikeouts. I think
Wheeler has 1 less strikeout than Robbie Ray. So it is. It's Wheeler and
okay.
And Robbie Ray.
That's right. Now
and Max Scherzer, what?
Yeah, go ahead. About Max Scherzer, where is he?
He's got 236, so he's up there, but he's not he's got 2 more than Corbin Burns.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that in the history of the Milwaukee Brewers, Mike Caldwell had a 2.36 ERA. Brewers, Corbin Burns, 2.43. Then you had Teddy Higura. Brandon Woodruff is the fourth best all-time Milwaukee Brewer with a 2.56. And then Ben Sheets was 2.70. So they're right up there. They're going to be a tough team in the playoffs, don't you think?
Yeah, dude. They have two of those pitchers on the list are current. Those were this year. 2 out of 5. 2 out of the top 5 ever in Brewers history are this year's pitchers.
Yeah, Malpal liked the Jackie Robinson answer. Okay. Now, San Francisco missed a chance to clinch the NL West. They fell to San Diego 3-2 on a Jake Cronenworth hit, an RBI double in the 10th inning.
They had so many people. The fans were everywhere, dude.
Yeah, over 40,000. And now San Diego is 14-7. No, I'm sorry, 4-17 since September 10th. And here's the kicker: all 4 victories have come against the Giants.
The Padres are 4-17 since the 10th of September, and all 4 victories are against the Giants.
I think I just said that.
I know. I just repeated it because I wanted to be clear about it. Okay.
Very good. Okay.
San Francisco hasn't won a division title since 2012.
Okay. The Giants.
That's when they had Lincecum.
So game 163, we could have the Red Sox, Yankees, and the Giants, Dodgers. There can't be a better rivalry for playoffs in the history of any sport. And how about Austin Slater? He hit his 18th. He hit the Giants' 18th pinch hit home run of the season. Yeah. That sets a Major League Baseball record. And for Austin Slater, who we thought might be a pretty decent fantasy player with some stolen bases,
he's had 4
pinch hit home runs for the year.
Yeah,
it ties the franchise record. So Austin Slater doing pretty good.
So the 1904 Giants hit 31 home runs in their was that all season? It was tied for the most in baseball that year in 1904.
In 1904, 31 home runs.
And
right.
The most home runs on the team that year were 6, by one hitter.
Yep.
The Giants this season have hit 31 home runs in their last 24 games.
That's pretty cool. And of course, the Braves have won 7 out of 8, and the New York Mets stranded the bases loaded in a 2-run 9th inning. They are terrible.
If they win today, though, they will actually win the season series against Atlanta for the first time since 2017.
That's incredible. And you mentioned
Ozzie Albies. He deserves much more credit than he's getting.
What has he got? 30 homers, 7 triples,
20 steals or something, 40 doubles. Anyway, he's got it just in the last couple. He's got 7 triples, 30 homers, and needs 1 double to become the 10th player with 3 seasons of at least 40 doubles, 20 home runs, and 5 triples. Mm-hmm. And then he would join who? All kinds of names on this list: Stan Musial, Lou Gehrig, Hornsby, Hank Greenberg. I mean, look, Ted Williams is on the list, Mookie Betts. There's only a few.
We'll have a big surprise for everybody. There's a former number 1 pick making a comeback into Major League Baseball.
Number 1?
Former number 1 fantasy draft pick.
I never took him number 1.
Well, other people did. So we'll tell you about who that could be. And of course, Charlie Morton at 37 years old.
When you say he's making a comeback, what does that mean? He's going to play baseball or manage?
No, he's coming back to play baseball again.
When? Like next year or the
No, in 20 years from now. He says he's going to play.
He's
next year, of course, yes.
I'm sorry, he did not have a great work ethic when he was good.
Let's see what happens now.
Okay.
Let's see, Charlie Morton, the 3rd oldest pitcher in the history of the Braves to start a postseason game. He had Phil Niekro, he had John Smoltz, and then Tampa.
What is up with their pitching? It's horrible, okay? The pitching staff is just, you look at the rotation and tell me if you would pick any one of them for your fantasy team.
Ian Anderson's a good pitcher.
Okay.
Right? I would pick Ian Anderson.
I won't.
And next year you'll have Soroka next year. Okay. So
I'm not talking about next year. I'm talking about the number 1 team in the American League East. Tampa.
Oh, Tampa.
The second season
I thought you were talking about Atlanta. Okay. But no, Tampa they're 70-3 when they lead by 3 or more runs at any point in the game. Right? And all 3 of those losses came on the road. Unbelievable.
So are they home now? Are they playing the
Yeah,
Yankees at home?
they finished first. They will finish. They will play the home games.
They probably still
Okay.
haven't sold out their ballpark, dude.
I don't know. Well, don't forget they played at a couple of different ballparks, and they've reached 100. Tampa, remember? No, that was
Nobody goes to
Toronto.
their games.
That was Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
First time they reached 100 wins.
Okay.
And what about this guy Brandon Lau?
He's really good yesterday. Really good. He had 3 home runs, right?
Yep. Travis d'Arnaud had 3 home runs for Tampa in 2019. 7 RBIs.
And that was against the Yankees too. So the Tampa Bay Rays just beat up on the poor Yankees. They couldn't have got a worse team to play
That's right
now.
And he also went 7 RBIs and a third ever player, Reds player to get that. I thought Jordan Montgomery would be much better. He had only given up 2 home runs to left-handed hitters this year in 130-something plate appearances, and he gave up 2 to Brandon Lau in the first 3 innings.
Yeah, well, okay, so you mentioned Lau 7 RBIs. That's the 3rd Rays player ever, and the 6th. It's the 3rd ever by a Rays player and the 6th in history. But 2 of those 3 Rays have been by second baseman. So who's the other second baseman? Who's the other second baseman for the Rays? He doesn't play anymore. To get 7 RBIs in one game, and it was since 2000.
Who? B.J. Upton?
No.
Ben Zobrist.
Ben Zobrist.
That's right. It was Ben Zobrist. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. Of course, I thought Montgomery, he hadn't even given up an extra base hit to a lefty in his previous 11 starts. So
yeah, well, yesterday he gave up 3 home runs, 2 in the first inning and 1 in the second inning.
And then, of course, Boston had to play 3 games against Washington.
I know.
Now, to me, there was something not right about that.
There's a lot of interleague games right now that I noticed.
3 games, the most crucial games of the year, against a National League team.
And they get no DH.
They could not use their DH.
Right. But they're 3-0 in National League parks. So.
Yep. How about that? And it was unbelievable that they pulled Tanner Houck yesterday very early in the game.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that early because if you look at Tanner Houck's history, dude, he hasn't pitched 5 innings in a game since August. And yesterday he did make it 5 innings. And I know it seems crazy to yank this guy, dude, when he had no earned runs, 8 strikeouts, 5 innings pitched. I mean, he didn't even walk anybody and he still got yanked after 5 innings. But he just doesn't pitch that many innings in any game. So I'll say that I give Cora a pass on this one, kinda, because how late do you want him to go? He can't. Usually, he only pitches like 2 innings.
But he had a no-hitter going. He was the second pitcher in Red Sox history to be removed from a no-hitter in the 6th inning.
Because if Cora would have let him stay in there, his no-hitter was going to go bye-bye.
You think so, huh?
I would be willing to bet that it was coming to an end quickly.
All right. So you're right about Garrett Cole, who'd given up 15 runs in his last 17 innings. So let's see what happens. Will he pitch on short rest today? There's no tomorrow. Rafael Devers, 36th home run, ties him with Ted Williams for the 3rd most home runs in a season by a Red Sox player 24 years old or younger. Mm-hmm. And, of course, you got to say, with Tampa, new season record for homers. They had 258 home runs. That is the new single-season record. And now let's get on to your Mariners. What do you say?
What about them?
Seattle won't be able to claim one of the 2 wildcard spots on the final day, but they made it to 162. It's going to be 163. The Mariners and Toronto enter the final day. 90-71. They both trail the Red Sox and the Yankees. The first 90-win team by Seattle since 2003.
Seattle is ranking pretty darn high, especially in the bullpen. I ranked the teams, bullpens, and their starting pitching, and Seattle is actually ranked 4th in baseball for their bullpen. And they have a 2.14 ERA. This might be just the second half, but the Yankees are the only team that actually has a better bullpen than the Mariners right now, as far as like contending teams. I'm excited for Seattle, of course, and I'm really happy for their fans. And they were absolutely there. They were yelling. It was just a great scene yesterday. And even when, I mean, you could just feel the vibes in the crowd when Seattle loses the lead unnecessarily and got it back. It was just too exciting. I am absolutely rooting for Seattle today, even though
Yep.
I do think it's chintzy that the Angels are not pitching Ohtani. That's pretty chintzy, but he's gonna bat still. He was batting yesterday. He'll bat again tonight.
And Mitch Henniger gets his 100th RBI.
Mitch Henniger is the glue that holds the piece together.
That's for 45 RBIs in the 7th inning or later. The most in Major League Baseball. Mitch Henniger.
They get along really great on that team, and you could really tell that Henniger is. If they would have traded him, the Mariners would not be where they are right now.
We got some great nuggets for you, and we got Crystal Ball coming up, so hang in there. Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker hit 2 of the Astros' 4 home runs as they lock up the home field advantage. And it's good. The Astros own a tiebreaker over the White Sox. They beat the White Sox 5 out of 7 this season. So the White Sox will be the only Central team to finish over 500 in the American League. How about that?
You missed. Did we talk about the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yes, we did.
Guess who has the most home runs in baseball? Which team?
I don't know. Toronto.
Right? Yes, and guess who has the second most?
I don't know.
The Giants.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
All I know is the White Sox. You know, what do you think of Lucas Giolito? He has his very dominant second half. He didn't have that last year, and he finished with 201 strikeouts. What do you think?
I like Giolito. You know, I really was concerned about the sticky substances because I really thought that he was going to show a lot of decline because of that, but he's been very good. So I like him. I'd still take Lance Lynn over him.
Okay, and now let's get to what you came here for.
What?
First of all, in batting average, Yuli Gurriel is going to win the American League batting title.
Okay, let me just clarify something here about Yuli.
Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning of the season, during drafts,
I know you dropped him, right?
No. I was the only one drafting him. Like, this guy was not getting drafted at all. Right. He was free. Basically, he was free. And I was hard. He didn't have a good season in 2020, but it wasn't as bad as where he was going in the drafts. And I really glommed onto that early in draft season. And I said, you know what? Maybe I'm crazy, but Yuli Gurriel is not this bad, and he deserves to get drafted, and he was not being drafted. So looking back at that, you can say, you know, this is maybe something we could learn from, that you look at somebody's record of years of service and you say to yourself, yes, I know our recency bias tells us that Yuli Gurriel is not that good, but he plays first base every day for Houston. That in itself is a reason to draft him. So
all right,
that's all.
I'm going to answer Malpal's question in the chat room. In one word, it's chaos. That's the American League. If you missed it, let's just review it one more second. Could be a 4-way tie. The Red Sox and the Yankees, if they both win or they both lose, they could wind up in a tie for first place. Red Sox could play the Yankees. It could be a 4-way tie. It's chaos. That answers Malpal's question.
The 4-way tie is only possible if the Yankees and the Red Sox lose and the Mariners and the Blue Jays win,
and
which
they
is
win.
Possible. It could be possible.
Could be, but I'll tell you something that's awesome. Here's the player who's launching a comeback in winter ball. Are you ready for this?
Oh, winter ball.
He's launching his comeback in
winter ball. What is winter ball? What is winter ball? That's in Dominican?
That's when you play in the winter. It could be a Dominican League. It could be important. It could be.
Okay. You're being misleading.
That's where he's launching his comeback. And if he plays well, he'll try to sign with a Major League Baseball team next year. He's 38.
That's not even that old. Nelly Cruz is older.
It's Hanley Ramirez.
Yes,
launching a comeback in winter ball in the
I'll
Dominican
believe it when
Republic.
I see it, because I don't believe that he has good. I don't know. Maybe he's bored, but do you remember he never was good? He never came to practice on time. when he was with Miami, he never showed up. Then he went to the Red Sox, and he just wasn't a great leader.
All right, let's see.
Anyway, I shouldn't dog on him, okay? He's
All
not
right.
too old to play.
Some great nuggets. Tyler O'Neill, second ever Cardinal left fielder with 30 home runs and 10 stolen bases. Ron Gant did it in 1996. And now, in honor of Malpal, let's talk about Jesus Luzardo. What do you say, Andy?
Okay, he strikes out batters. We already know that, but he's still bad. He's been figured out. That's the problem with him. I don't foresee a comeback from him.
Well, he struck out a career high 11, and Jazz Chisholm hit a 3-run homer. Miami wound up beating Philadelphia. And do you remember in the Arizona Fall League, we saw O'Neill Cruz? I don't know if you remember him. You
really.
will. He was a 6'7" shortstop.
What team was he on? I don't think I did.
Pittsburgh. Well, we saw him. Made his major league debut just yesterday. The tallest shortstop in big league history. He was called up from AAA.
Really?
Yep, that's right. Actually, Joel Guzman was also 6'7".
What's up with all these baseball players being like hella tall?
I don't know.
Is that like are we just getting bigger as humans, or is that just like a requirement for baseball now?
Well, we'll see. So Cruz came up and had the hardest Pirate hit ball since 2015. Okay, 2015.
Well,
huge, here's a great note about one of your favorite players, Eugenio Suarez. 129 home runs since the beginning of 2018 is the most home runs in the major leagues. How about that one?
That's a stat. Are you sure Nelly Cruz doesn't have more homers?
Eugenio Suarez, 128 home runs since the beginning of 2018 are the most in the major leagues.
Well, I don't know, because I will say, I will say that Nelly Cruz hit 37, 41, 32, and 16. That is a lot of homers. So I don't know if your stat is right, but either way, he hits a lot of home runs. He just has a horrible batting average. The other day at the podcast, you asked the chat room, is there a hitter in baseball history that has hit this many home runs? Not this many, but 30 home runs and had a batting average below 200. Yeah. And so we were spouting off all kinds of guys like Chris Davis and Adam Dunn and these guys, but even Matt Olson might be close to making that cut because he had a horrible batting average last year. Anyway, that is a feat. So I looked up Eugenio Suarez's stats for maybe his splits, first half and second half splits. Maybe he's just not used to doing this early, but I got to say, because he's had a lot of home runs since, I don't know, in the month of September. I think he's got 8 home runs since the beginning of September. But he's on fire right now. I don't know what to do about him next year. In October, he bats 350 in his career.
Okay? Yeah, 351 in October. But how many games has he played in October?
I don't know. He's on Cincy, so I don't know where he was before that. I'm actually gonna look him up because I don't believe that he has as many as Nelly Cruz. Let me see.
Check it out. The Indians clinched the losing record for the first time since 2012. Yet the Indians of Cleveland have a better record than the New York Mets, and the Mets have Francisco Lindor, and the Cleveland Indians don't. Remember when that trade was made? Everybody said, oh, the Mets are now freaking great. The Indians are giving up the season. But the Indians have a better record than the Mets.
That's because the Mets have a problem with the clubhouse camaraderie, dude. They do not get along great. I'll tell you, the teams that get along great are the teams like Seattle, the Giants. These teams get along with each other behind the scenes, and I just don't think that the Mets have a good group of guys that fit well together. So as far as the home runs go, 2018, we have 34, 49, 15, and 31. And then for Nelly Cruz, I'm going to...
Well, you have to add them up because that doesn't mean anything. I am going to.
I had to write them down. I can't remember.
Okay, you write it down, and I'll talk about a big day for the Cleveland team. You know why it's a big day?
What?
It's the last time they'll be called the Cleveland Indians. They will be called the Guardians starting next season. And of course, Zach McKenzie allowed 4 runs on 4 hits and 4 walks. He lost his last 3 starts of the season, 14 earned runs in 10 2/3 innings. He may not be the great pitcher that a lot of us are expecting. So we'll see about that.
You
And
know,
of course,
the MLB won't give up the rights, though, to Chief Wahoo. They will not give up the rights.
Oh, really? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he'll be over in the Atlanta Braves organization.
Seriously, isn't that junk? They say that if they want to get rid of it, they should allow other people to just whatever. Maybe it will not even be popular anymore, but it's so greedy. Anyway, that's the world we live in. So,
yep. And Sal Perez hitless in 4 at bats for the second straight night. He tried to break the team record for home runs. He has 48 home runs, one more than Vladimir Guerrero, but he's tied with Jorge Soler for the most home runs as a Kansas City Royal.
Didn't he break the record for? He already did break the record for home runs, didn't he?
No, he's tied with Soler for the most by a Kansas City Royal. He's got 48. Okay.
Soler, he's going to be gone.
Solar panel. He also became the 7th player ever to hit 30 home runs with at least 50% more home runs than walks. How about that one? All right.
Pretty good.
I mean, Perez, Roughneck Odor, Alfonso Soriano, Dante Pichette, Andres Galarraga, Andre Dawson, Bob Horner. He's in with some pretty good company there.
Byron Buxton, 7 hits in the last 3 games, 3 doubles in his last 2 games. Buxton, what's on tap for next year for Buxton? Are you going to draft him? Uh-oh. Hold on, everybody, because Lenny he was cut off.
Okay, we're back. We are back. We got Crystal Ball coming up in just a few minutes, but a couple of other things. Active players with more career walks than strikeouts. Juan Soto is the only one. He's got, actually, TJ Friedl, but he only has 28 plate appearances. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Byron Buxton doubled in the 5th inning yesterday, scored on a Mitch Garver single. Byron Buxton, a very quiet 7 hits in his last 3 games, 3 doubles in his last 2 games. What do you think?
I was asking you that when you were cut off. So
I
was asking you about what you were going to do. Are you going to draft Buxton next year? Because I'm going to.
It's going to be tough, but there's going to be a year where Byron Buxton's going to be Ricky Henderson. So let's see what happens there.
But I have to say this about it. His stolen base potential was when he was younger and really high. He was a Ricky Henderson, but now as he grows older, even though he still can steal bases, that is really not his best asset in fantasy. It's it's part of it, but it's not going to be like 30 stolen bases again. Nope. I don't see that happening. It's like that ship has sailed, in my opinion.
And of course, Arizona wins. They're now 51-110. They still have a shot to tie the 2014 with 111 losses.
Right, but they can't actually break the franchise record for the most losses.
Right.
Because they won yesterday.
Colorado Rockies will end our Nuggets with the Rockies going 12 for 35 through May and 54 and 51 since then. What do you think of the Colorado Rockies?
Nothing.
Nothing for next year?
No.
They're 54 and 51.
So what? What does that
really?
mean? Because they had a decent second half.
That's pretty good second half. Okay.
I don't foresee them having the same group of players that they do right this minute,
but
that's
absolutely.
Probably a good thing.
Trevor Story will not be on their team, among others, so it's going to be an interesting offseason. Okay, let's get to Crystal Ball. Let her in. Crystal Ball, good morning. How you doing, kid?
Good morning, Leonard.
Crystal Ball.
Not. Crystal Ball can't call you Leonard. She calls you Lenny.
Okay, whatever you want to call me, I'm calling you Crystal Ball.
Hey.
And yes.
Hi.
Okay, let's start off with the Atlanta Braves, who have done such a great job losing Ozuna, losing Acuna, losing Soroka. So next year, with Ozuna and Acuna back, who's out? They got Solar, they got Peterson, they got Duvall. Who's going to be out of that Atlanta team next year?
The only one that's actually signed through next year is, actually, look. Okay, Soler is going to be a free agent. That's that. He's not going to be re-signed by Atlanta. So he's one, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. The next guy on the list, Jock Peterson, he's got a mutual option for next year. It's $10 million, dude. He is not. They have to pay $22.5 million to get out of the mutual option. That's the buyout cost. I think they will buy him out for $2.5 million rather than let him play for $10 million when they don't need him. And then Duvall, how are you going to let him go? He's actually got a $7 million mutual option for next year that can be bought out for $3 million. But I think that they might keep Duvall around.
Wow. And then, so you think that Duvall is going to stick around with Acuna, Ozuna, and Duvall? What about in Baltimore? John Means was an all-star in a mixed league. Now, Baltimore's lost 10 of Means' final 11 starts. Is he draftable next year?
Not okay. He's he's only 29 next year. Right now he's 28. He will only be 29
next year. That usually
next year.
happens like that, right?
So yesterday he got the loss. He gave up 7 runs, but only 6 earned. So 6 earned runs on 7 hits. That includes 3 home runs and 2 doubles out of the 7 hits. 5 of them were extra base hits. And that was in 3 innings. Okay. He is not a good pitcher. And yes, he has some decent outings and early in the season, especially, but he's not on a good team and he's not a good pitcher. So no, the answer, I will not be drafting him. But by the way, I don't know if you said this, but he's lost 10 of the last 11.
That's right. Lost 10. Baltimore's lost 10 of the last 11 John Means starts. Now, there are 2 teams that have made statements saying they're going to be hot and heavy in the offseason. The Chicago Cubs, I believe they will. I know they're going after Trevor Story. And the Miami Marlins have said they are going to be heavy into offense in the offseason. Their pitching looks to be pretty competitive. What do you think? You expect Miami to make a big mark in the offseason?
So if you take out, first of all, they rank 27th out of 30 in offense, and that includes the wonderful season by Starling Marte. So if you take Marte out of the equation, this team was dead last in offense. There's only 2 hitters on this team that have strike out less than 20%. And that would be Jesus Aguilar and Miguel Rojas. The rest of the whole entire lineup is striking out 25% of the time. And so, yes, they need to invest in some offense. No doubt about it.
All right. Next year, you're on the clock. You're looking for a power-hitting outfielder. Are you taking Aaron Judge or Giancarlo Stanton first? Who's your pick?
These 2 are like the same guy. You know that they have their similar batting stats are uncanny, dude. That's so unbelievably similar. I will take Judge because I think he's healthier, but only by the hair of a chinny chin chin.
A chinny chin chin. Now, you made a statement about the Mets not having a cohesive unit. Next year, You got Javier Baez, who wants to play with Lindor. Lindor wants to play with Baez.
Too
You
bad.
got Pete Alonso, who, according to Irwin's Willing, buried his head in a towel instead of celebrating with Baez, indicating a little, something going on there. Next year, Baez, Alonso, will they both be Mets? Will who's going to be on the Mets next year?
Well, in my opinion, it doesn't have anything to do with Alonso because Javier Baez made his bed when he decided to do a thumbs down to the fans, and Sandy Alderson was just livid about it and even went to the team and had a meeting and gave them a big lecture about how the fans are rightfully pissed off and you will not treat the fans bad. That was the end of his days in a Mets uniform. I don't think that Baez will stay with the Mets, and I don't know who's going to sign him. I think he should go back to Chicago where they have Javi Baez way.
One of my sleepers next year is Shane McClanahan, strikeout pitcher for Tampa.
Is he a sleeper?
I don't know. I think he is in some annals, but $10. Are you going over or under $10 on Shane McClanahan?
I probably won't pay $10 for McClanahan, but I do think that it could be a good pitcher. I mean, on Friday he only threw 43 pitches, 28 of them were strikes. That was just because he had such an increase in innings from the couple prior years before. I mean, this year he's pitched double what he's pitched in any other season. And of course, he went straight from Double-A to the majors, and he is very young. I mean, he's young and experienced. He's actually going to be 25 next year, so he's not like really young, but he hardly has any experience. So my point is, no, I'm not paying $10, but I do think he could possibly be worth $10.
Don't forget, the best time to prepare for next year in fantasy baseball is right now. And I'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't forget, tonight the Roto Imbeciles are on at 6:30. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Who you taking next year? You're looking for a pitcher. You want Aaron Nola or you want Zach Wheeler? Who are you going with?
No question, it's Wheeler.
Zach. Now, what about Steven Matz? I know you like Alek Manoah, who allowed one hit over 7 innings to help Toronto close within one game.
I'm taking Manoah.
Are you taking Manoah over Matz?
Yes, dude.
And what about Rookie of the Year in the American League? Mountcastle or Manoah?
Do I only get those two? I mean,
that's the choice.
No.
Mountcastle or Manoah? Who do you like more?
Manoah, then.
You like Manoah over Mountcastle for Rookie of the Year?
That's because, I mean, honestly, maybe it shouldn't have anything to do with it, but I can't help the fact that Toronto is a team that is competing right now. And so the Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, just like the MVP and all these, it's, it goes to the fact that they contributed to get their team in the playoffs or make a run for the playoffs or whatever. Okay. And it's not Mountcastle's fault that he's on the Orioles. That's not his fault. But I don't know. He definitely in the equation. If you look at the betting odds, you would see Mountcastle with the best odds to win. But I think that that's based on the number of bets that have been placed, not the actual talent.
Okay. Josh Bell had a fairly decent year hitting home runs.
Bell or Bellinger? Who would you take?
Bell or Bellinger?
Yeah, next year. Bell.
I'd probably go with Josh Bell. He's going to hit you 25 home runs. I don't know what Bellinger's going to do.
Bellinger is horrible compared to everybody. But
okay.
Josh Bell, 27 homers, 88 RBIs, and he did not start the season well. I think he was he injured to start
the season? Yes, he was.
So here's a guy that's on a horrible team, didn't start the season healthy, still is having a good season. And, we wondered about how well he would do in Washington. We loved the fact that he was going to Washington from the Pirates because it doesn't get much worse than the Pirates. However, the question was the one season that he had that was really good a fluke? And I don't think it was. So obviously Josh Bell hits the ball super hard, and I would definitely take Bell over Bellinger. How much would I spend? I'm not spending 20.
Okay.
Because of his position eligibility. First base is there are a dime a dozen these first basemen.
Will Yoan Moncada be a sleeper next year? I've liked him a lot more than most. I'm waiting for him to break out. What about you?
If you've ever liked Moncada, you should like him this year. even though his stats would, I mean, if you had him on your fantasy team, I did have him. He was such a nightmare most of the season. He's only hit, in the last 7 games, he's hit 2 home runs, though. But I'm telling you, he might have hit 2 home runs the first 2 months of the season. So anyway, my point is, his strikeout rate is better. That was my biggest issue with Yohan Moncada in the past.
How about stolen bases? He's stealing any?
I don't think so. I don't know. I don't have a stolen bases in front of me. I put a couple notes on here. The improved contact rate went up from 64 to 70%. His WOBA went up from 303 to 355. That's great. His walk rate did go up a little bit. He does take walks. He always really has taken walks. And the strikeout rate has gone down from 31% to 25%. But I'm telling you, it's like, in the years past, I would warn everybody, Yohan Moncada is a bust. He's a bust because his plate discipline is so bad that, and his batting average on balls in play was so high that it's reasonable to say to yourself that this can't last, that this guy has such bad plate discipline. I don't care if he batted 305 or not. His batting average on balls in play was the highest in baseball. So that was reason, but I see improvement for sure in this guy. He's going to be 27 next year. But again, the stolen base ship has sailed with this guy.
I try to get similar players on the same team. Who are you taking next year? Your pick, Frank Schwindel or Patrick Wisdom?
I'm going to take Schwindel because he has a full-time job. And Wisdom does play all over the place, though. He plays right field, left field, right field, left field, third base, and first base. So that's huge. But Schwindel has a job at first base. And Wisdom is like more of a Marwin Gonzalez.
Well, I'll tell you also now, Shane Bieber came back to pitch 2 games going into the offseason. He's got a lot of confidence for next year. Cleveland has a lot of confidence that he's coming back. The Mets didn't do that with Jake DeGrom, and I think they should have, just to see what they're dealing with.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
What are you talking about?
Number one, you're not a doctor, okay?
But at least if DeGrom, they say, is healthy, you let him pitch a game or 2 just to see. If he doesn't respond well, then they know they have to go out and get Robbie Ray.
Okay, simple. I take back the comment about you're not a doctor because I can't stand it when people tell me I'm not a doctor. I know I'm not a doctor, but I have good enough and I'm resourceful enough to dig up information if I need to find out some shit.
Yeah, well, don't walk on it for 2 weeks.
The fact that I'm not a doctor doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to comment on any kind of health injuries. But yeah, okay. I don't think that they said that DeGrom was fine. I don't think that they said that.
They were thinking of letting him pitch unless something happened. I would let him pitch just to see how he turns out. It'll be a big difference in the offseason if he pitches a couple of games like Bieber did.
How in the world is it better for him?
Let's put it this way. If he pitched 2 games like Bieber did and didn't come out good, that's the answer.
Then what? The next year sucks because you didn't.
No, then you got to, in the offseason, you got to go all in. Simple.
This is a guy that has been the best pitcher in baseball for the last 3 straight seasons, and he doesn't need to prove that he should go all in. Because
it's all about health. That's what I'm talking about. Now, what about Bieber? You think he'll return to stardom?
So Bieber doesn't have any kind of history of injuries, and he has looked good since he came back from the shoulder injuries, but you do realize there was never really any like firm diagnosis on this, and there was no like surgery to fix it or any kind of treatment. It was basically like just rest and we'll hope it goes away. And I worry about these types of injuries because you could be like this guy in Dinelson Lamet. You could be like Dinelson Lamet, okay? There's no answer because we don't really know. It's just a shoulder strain. I like Bieber and I will spend $15 on Bieber next year, but I'm probably more confident. I'm not confident in either DeGrom or Bieber, to be honest with you.
Who are you taking next year? Woodruff or Peralta? 2 Milwaukee pitchers.
I'm going to take Woodruff.
Woodruff, okay.
Woodruff.
Now who are you taking next year? Adam Wainwright or Flaherty? Both 2 Cardinal pitchers.
Flaherty, I'm wondering if Flaherty had a crazy you know how it's a career year, 1 year, and then the couple years following that, then we all believe that this is going to be this pitcher for going forward, and then you find out, like, let me say, Flaherty had a 2.75 ERA in 2019. He pitched almost 200 innings, and he struck out a ton of batters, and he was like, he was going in, he was one of the top pitchers, okay, being drafted after that. Since then, he's had a 4.91 ERA and a 3.26 ERA. The 3.26 ERA is current, so that's fine, but his FIP is 4.27. It is way higher than what it, showing me that his ERA is a mirage, kind of like our economy.
Who are you taking next year, Lance McCullers or Zach Greinke?
I'll take McCullers, and let me point out, this is for our friend Malpal. The other day in the chat room, he made a comment and it said, check out his stats, because Malpal has a formula, and I'm telling the whole world because I think it's a very useful formula. Okay. So the formula is that if you look at the strikeout percentage and you look at the ground ball percentage of a pitcher, a starting pitcher, you can see breakout pitchers based on if those two numbers added up together equals 70. A lot of times, because the point is, I'd like to explain this. We talked about it just the other day. Malpal explained it to me that I totally forgot what I was talking about.
I know, because you're just talking. You'll go on for another hour.
Oh my goodness. No, let me explain this.
I'm trying to cut it short because I'm ready to go.
You can go anytime and I'll finish it up. You don't have to stay on for me, Leonard.
What about next year? Ohtani, you think he'll be in a slump or a bump next year?
Ohtani, I think that he's going to be in a slump compared to what he did this year. I don't think he's going to be able to pull this off again. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I don't think that we'll have to see what kind of strain it put on him to play a full season of hitting and pitching. I don't know how he does it. I'm very happy with what he did, but I don't see it. He's going to slump because what he did was too good.
You mentioned Cody Bellinger before. You're spending $15 over or under.
Do you ever listen to Crystal Ball when she comes here and answers questions, or no?
Yeah, because I ask that every week, right?
Or you just run out of questions to come up with for each team, right?
I'm not running out, but every week it sort of changes. You keep
Bellinger
thinking
is not getting $1.
You keep thinking that Bellinger's going to get better, but he doesn't.
I will never think that, and I will not spend $1 of my money on Bellinger, and I haven't for several. Maybe it's because I did last year, and it was a bad idea.
All right, what about Jared Kelenic? $16 over or under next year?
No way on Kelenic. No.
You think that Chris Bryant's going to resign with San Francisco?
I hope so, because I don't know. You know what? They were trying to talk all kinds of things about the Cubbies wanting Chris Bryant back. Is that possible?
It is possible.
Is it possible that he will go back there after they fucked him by leaving him down in the minor leagues? And then
don't think so. I think he loves San Francisco. The Giants are going to resign him.
I like it too.
My opinion.
Yeah, I really hope he stays in San Francisco.
And finally, Adolis Garcia had a tremendous year. Will he hit 30 home runs? And you're going to 30 home runs next year, over or under?
Okay, under. I think he's hit like 2 home runs in the second half or something. Just
all right.
Astonishing. Now, look, maybe that's an exaggeration, but we're talking about a guy that hit like 30 home runs in the first half. In the second half, he did 2. And he hasn't been good at all. So I don't even know why he's still in the conversation. They should be talking about the other guy from Texas instead of Adolis. They should be talking about Luis Garcia.
Okay.
Because Luis Garcia actually deserves some love for Rookie of the Year, too, by the way. More love than Alek Manoah does, because he has been here for the long haul. And he has done it all year long.
Thank you all in the chat room with Anthony D.B. Miller. I'm going. Andy will stay.
Where are you going? Where do you think you're going?
I have to take a rest. You tire me out. I really do.
Unfortunately for you, when we hang up here, you're still stuck with me.
I'm still stuck with you.
So how are you going to get a rest?
I'm going to get arrested. That's what's going to happen. Thank you, everybody. Go get them.
I'm staying on, and you never know what I might say while you're gone.
I don't care what you say. Goodbye.
Okay, so I wanted to finish up talking about the Malpal formula for you guys, because it really does work and it makes a ton of sense. The idea that you're going to add up the strikeout percentage, with the ground ball percentage is based on the fact that, the pitcher's ultimate goal is to keep runners off the base paths. That's what he has to do. So when a hitter is prone to ground balls or striking out, that's huge. That means that so the best thing that I can hear myself, but Lenny's listening to me now. Let me put him on mute or remove him. I've got to remove the guy. Okay. The ground balls plus the strikeout percentage. These two things have to add up to 70% or 70 total. And let me tell you, the best useful thing that this formula is breakouts. And it's for projecting some breakouts, right? Lance McCullers is the guy that he brought up the other day in the chat room, and he said, go look at his numbers, and I did. And it is true. His numbers are phenomenal compared to the other pitchers in baseball. And nobody's using this formula because Malpal this is a secret sauce that you only get in the chat room at Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports. So anyways, you guys, I really think it's good. You look at Lance McCullers, and he's at like 75 or 80%. He is a great ground ball pitcher, and he strikes out a lot of batters, and he's finally at a stage in his life that he might be able to, make it through a full season. And that was the biggest problem I had with McCullers going into this year, is that he has not been reliable for a full season of work. And these days, it's more important than ever to find a guy that can go 5 or 6 innings and 200 innings. That's all we ask. And it's very rare. It's basically the Cleveland Indians rotation does it and nobody else these days. I'm just kidding, but the fact that there's one pitcher in baseball that got 20 wins, and it was a great season. I'm not going to say that it wasn't a good season, because this season has been excellent for just the competition between the divisions and the level of these teams. The fact that was this, okay, we thought going into the season that we were not going to see more than maybe a handful of pitchers throw 200 innings. And that's probably going to be the case for every season going forward. But we were worried that our pitchers we weren't going to reach the minimums in fantasy, because you have to have 900 innings. And we were like, dude, by the end of the season, everybody's going to get so tired and they're not going to be able to pitch. And they only played 60 games last year. God forbid. These players are like just the weakest that they've ever been. If the relief pitcher can't even come in 2 days in a row and throw like 6 pitches, it's gotten to the point that we're never going to be able to see great high strikeout, lots of innings seasons. I mean, dude, just 25 years ago, the guy that pitched the most innings this year, you could take the 2 guys that pitched the most innings, and then it will add up to what the guy did 30 years ago as a starting pitcher. That's how many innings they used to pitch, and the complete game situation is not happening. And that's kind of sad in for real. But how many pitchers do you think reached 200 innings, even though we thought they were all going to be done and they were going to be limiting starts and innings? And there might be more. Let me say 185 innings. Okay, there's 10 pitchers that win 185 innings or more. And there's a heck of a lot more than that. There's 28 starting pitchers that threw 170 innings. 28. I mean, we really, I was targeting guys like sturdy guys like Robbie Ray and Lance Lynn, and just a handful of guys that you can kind of bank on for being out there for 200 innings. And I mean, the win situation. So we have Julio Urias, right, with 20 wins. He's the only pitcher. The next guy down on the list, the next guy in line with the next most wins on the season is Adam Wainwright, 17. That makes me so happy to see that. And Adam Wainwright, though, it's going to be like, nobody's going to pay a lot of money for Adam Wainwright, even though he was phenomenal this year. 206 innings. This guy's got so many innings on his arm. And that does matter when they get to be this point in the career, because he's going to be 40 years old. Adam Wainwright, 40 years old next year. You can't rely on him to ever throw 206 innings, but when he's healthy, he's been good. And I just love the fact that Yachty and him, they signed for another year. This is kind of like the CBA. Like, let's just put it off, okay, till next year when we can figure it out. The Cardinals do not want to lose this group of guys. Wainwright and Yachty are, I don't know what will happen to the Cardinals when these two guys are no longer there, because they've been there. They are the baseball battery. Okay, that's what they are. They've been together forever. Adam Wainwright, dude. How many Ks does he have? His K per 9 is his K per 9 is not that good, actually. It's 750. This stays the same. It's been in the mid sevens since 2016, pretty much. Couple really good years in between. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, in baseball, let's look at the leaders in wins. Adam Wainwright, 17 wins. Then Garrett Cole has 16 wins. Okay, then after that, it's all just, everybody's kind of like this, it's 15 wins. Wheeler, Gaussman, Charlie Morton is another older guy that you can we count on him to be back now? He's pitched 183 innings. Is this guy going to pitch well next year? He's had a great season with over 10 strikeouts per 9. And I think his biggest problem is that he is not ever healthy. So maybe Charlie Morton, but the age thing is a real problem. Anyway, I love the fact that Adam Wainwright is up there. Okay, there's a lot of pitchers though that lasted way more innings than we expected, and a lot of these young guys have thrown double the innings that they ever threw before in their short careers, right? So, like Shane McClanahan, he has no innings on his arm. He goes out there now, he's at 125 innings. So, they're like, you got to wonder if that's going to affect him for next year. I mean, if you believe in the Verducci effect, you should pay attention to notice about pitchers, their innings limit based on what they've done in prior seasons before 2020, because 2021. I would say that if they have no innings on their arm, you kind of have to look at it like the Verducci effect, which is that these pitchers end up in Tommy John basically when they increase their innings pitched by a certain amount or more. If they're doubling their innings pitched, that's not good for a young pitcher these days. Shoot, that's just these days. I stress the term these days, because these days are not like any other days in the world, in the history of the world. So what else? Yes, the formula is that we missed so much on here. I could probably just sit here and babble baseball all day, but let me check the chat room and see if anyone's paying attention. If everybody left, I have to be done. Oh, good. I still have some friends. Eddie Heckman here. Good to see you. Dogman. Everybody, nice to see you. Let me see what other notes that I might have that are nuggets. Lenny is burned out, I think, sometimes. He's we're getting ready to move. We're going to move to Arizona, because when it gets cooler outside, Lenny likes to sit outside, and that is a blessing, because otherwise we would be sitting in the same room with each other 24 hours a day. Like, it's just a nice for everybody, because he loves to sit in the sun. And on the, we have the fourth hole of a 9-hole golf course. We sit out in the backyard, and we have turkeys that roam around. Those are huge. They get huge, but I love the turkeys. Anyway, Lenny loves to sit out there. And also, it's time to move from New York. Anyway, that's exciting, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, I think, too, for what it is. But moving, I think we're pretty much throwing out everything that we're not going to wear. we're pretty much throwing out everything, or we will get a storage unit, just a really small one, and keep all of our you know memories and stuff, our pictures and our important stuff. But I think we're going to Arizona because they have the best laws, even though there's a huge problem on the southern border. I don't really worry that much about Arizona because they're pretty much busing these people all over the country. And so you don't have to live on the border to have an have that. I'm not going to try. I hope that I'm fearful that I would come off like I don't think immigration is a good thing. I absolutely do believe that immigration is a good thing. But of course, when you have the problem that we do at the southern border, one has to take into consideration if, their community is going to be, I don't know. So you just run the risk of saying something offensive that like sounds like you don't like immigration, but that's not the case. So don't jump to that conclusion. Just, I believe that, like, why are we forcing cops and nurses and doctors to be vaccinated, and border patrol agents have to be vaccinated now or they're going to lose their job? But the people coming into our country right now, hundreds of thousands of people, do not have to get vaccinated, nor do they have to get tested for any kind of disease, not just COVID, because COVID, if you think about it, is not actually the worst thing that could possibly be brought into this country, because there are worse things to get than COVID for the most part. Anyways, I'm just saying, I love Arizona because we have all the ballparks there, like 7 ballparks. That's the greatest place to be. It gets really hot there in the summertime, but everything is air conditioned. So there's not as many bugs in the western part of the country. There's a lot less bugs, a lot less humidity. The states are, it's turning into like, not, the states are not united. Okay, to make a long story short, the states are not united. So depending on what state you live in right now, you're dealing with all kinds of different, like, social rules that you can abide by. And in New York, they have made it so that you can't even go to a restaurant or to any entertainment venue. You can't go see a movie. You can't go to a baseball park. You can't go to a hockey game. You cannot go to Madison Square Garden unless you have a vaccine card. So that, it makes it kind of, I don't know, like, so then you think to yourself, like, do I really want to be here and pay the highest property taxes in the country if I can't go and see a movie? But they'll vaccinate you right outside the front door, though. They have all these little pop-up stands to get vaccinated out. So if you want to go in the doors, then you can, if you get jabbed right here and now, even though it doesn't make any kind of sense. Health-wise, like, I don't know, the whole thing makes no sense to me. It just makes no sense. So, all right, everybody, this is I want to end it on a happy note. I really love talking about Malpal's formula. And what about Berrios for next year? I like Berrios. I think maybe he could be a good breakout candidate, even though I'm not sure that the formula really works for him. I just thought of him. He popped into my head. Ozzie Albies does not get enough love, too. Ozzie Albies has had a phenomenal season, and we're not paying that much attention to it. I did look at some of the numbers from this season overall, because that's always fun at the end to look at these overall numbers. But let me see what we got here for pitching. For innings pitched, you have, look, Zach Wheeler, Walker Buehler, four pitchers, 200 innings. Strikeouts. Okay, guess how many people got saved this year? Guess how many relievers got saved? So there was 19 pitchers who had at least 20 saves. 19. and 10 of them had an ERA under 3. The reason that I just thought that was interesting, and then I went further and I looked at the number of those pitchers with 20 saves. 3 of them had an ERA over 3.5. 10 of them had an ERA under 3. But how many relievers do you think got 100 strikeouts this year? That I found out is 3. There's 3 of those guys that get saves that struck out 100 batters, and it's Liam Hendricks, Iglesias, and Craig Kimbrell. Okay? That's only 3 of them. Well, I guess, it's not that common for a reliever to get more than 100 strikeouts, but if you think about a guy like Corbin Burns or these guys struck out a ton. Now, here's a good tidbit that nobody talked about earlier today, and that is that Devin Williams, regardless, okay, so he punches something. I don't know if he got mad. He must have got mad or he was doing something. He punched the wall. So he breaks his hand or some bone in his hand. His hand is broken and he's not going to be pitching. Not right now, anyway. I mean, they're trying to act like there's hope that he might pitch in the postseason, but there's no hope. And so then my point of the story is that it's so interesting to me that he would actually not come up with a better sounding reason to the public, at least, like he fell down the stairs or anything that sounds like normal, but he comes out and he says, I got drunk and I punched a wall. And so I guess, it is the playoffs, so it's kind of like not a really great time to be getting drunk and punching walls. You know what I mean? But so that is to me, I wonder, would it change my mind about how I felt about it if it wasn't the playoffs, or if he said that he did it in a way that, is it offensive that he got drunk and punched a wall right before the playoffs? I don't know for sure that it is, but it sucks because this is critical time for him. And the Milwaukee Brewers, they have the depth in the bullpen that they are probably going to be okay. And he's really not the pitcher that he was last year anyways. So he's been somewhat of a disappointment in general. But the fact that he now is, so yes, it's absolutely going to hurt him because this guy has the ability to strike out batters, and that is for sure. He can really get it done in the strikeout department if he's having a good time. But still disappointing. I had to drop him earlier in the season, and then I questioned, like, why did I ever draft this guy anyways? He's not going to get saves, and he's not going to get saves. And I think I kept telling myself that he was going to get traded, or that Hader was going to get traded, or that he would get enough wins because he would come in and perhaps pitch, a couple innings, or he would strike out a ton of batters, and he was exciting to me. I don't even know what the justification though is logically, because I should have never drafted him. I knew he wasn't going to get saves. I knew he wasn't even healthy to start the season. The fact that I even put him on my team is not a good, but you're bound to make mistakes. So that's what you do. And then you go back and you say, like, what could I have done that might help me next year? And so I've already complained about this quite a bit, but I really want to bring it up again. So Tout Wars, I had the second most points in a head-to-head points league, but I didn't even make the playoffs. And it was like there was I had just bad timing because the people I was playing at the time, they were having good week. So the points scored against my team were way more than any other team. So that right there explains the problem. That I feel like that's kind of where that type of game lacks, in that if you do finish high in points, that maybe that we should have like a wild card in head-to-head points league. You should have a wild card playoff, something for the teams that finish high in points but didn't have a great season. You know what I mean? So anyway, I only thought of that this year because this is the first time that anything like that's ever happened to me. So most people, I guess, don't really think about it too seriously until they're stuck with it. Like the rule in National League or American League only leagues, where if a player gets traded to the other league, then you don't get to keep him on your team. That's a bunch of bull dinky and poppycock, because you now you lose your player. What if it's your best player that got traded? That is it's not even acceptable. And because here's the biggest reason: there are not any players to pick up to replace a guy like this. If you have anybody that even plays every day on your team, it's very valuable in an only league. So the idea that you would lose Mookie Betts because he went from the Red Sox to the Dodgers, think of that. Or anybody that gets traded, like I said, if they're breathing and they're playing baseball on a regular basis, then they're absolutely worth keeping. And when you lose a guy because Major League Baseball team decided to trade him to another team, how are you ever supposed to control that? So it's like you don't have any control over it, but you just get it's the roll of the dice. So if it just happens to land on you, then F you. So that's not okay. I just think that, okay, so regardless, our friend James that was in the chat room and maybe still is in the chat room, but he told me last night that his team didn't make the playoffs too, and he was in the same, had a similar situation than I do. And I said, and he agrees with me, that you don't feel that bad about your season, though, even though he said, even though I would love to win $1,200, yes, of course, but you can't feel bad about the process that you took or the management that you had throughout the season, because depending on how good or bad your draft was, you either, had to work really hard to make up for it, or you still have to maintain your team, even if you did have a great draft. And so the point is you got to still feel proud of it, because it's not about the outcome necessarily. It's about the process and the reasoning that you have behind your process. So if it makes sense, like that, you can't predict these things. Baseball is, lots of things happen. So that was the only team that I actually did well in. Really, I was very happy that I didn't finish last in labor. Labor was our first draft of the season. And so I just had so many injuries. My entire group of guys that I target as pitchers, they were all failures at the beginning of the year. You had Zach Gallen, Luis Castillo. I had Steven Strasburg, which was probably not a great idea, but I felt like the cost was justifiable because he did show that he could do it. He did 1 year, just a couple years ago, pitch 200 innings. And I said, yay for Steven Strasburg. He finally is going to get a full season. But so we know he's capable of it, but he wasn't even going to come close. I also had Clayton Kershaw as one of my targets this year. Kershaw was a pretty big disappointment. I had Carlos Carrasco on that labor team because it was like right before he was hurt. That was a stupid draft pick too. But still, I had all these pitchers on numerous teams that really hindered me. Having Zach Gallen out and Luis Castillo doing horrible, that was my two worst. I still don't think they were mistakes, though. I believe that Luis Castillo is an excellent pitcher, and I also believe that Zach Gallen is a great pitcher. Gallen is, I don't know, neither of these guys, I'm definitely going to draft him again, especially at a discount. There's no question. I'll probably fall into the same problem, but I do think that both of these pitchers are definitely worth. Think about the price cut in these guys, because they, Luis Castillo, there's a lot of people that don't believe in Luis Castillo. I don't really know why, because he's been good. And also Gallen, he's on a horrible team, so you're not even going to get wins from him. But he's definitely a good pitcher. I bet you Lance McCullers is going to cost, and Julio Urias, both of these guys are going to be more expensive than Luis Castillo or Zach Gallen. I don't know if I would take over McCullers, though. let's take a look at Lance McCullers real quick with the format. We got to call this formula something. We got to come up with a name for this formula. This is this is really used as a projection tool. So you add up the ground ball percentage. Lance McCullers. I remember, if any of you guys have been listening to the show for years, then you would remember Paul Morton and Beat On and Donkey. And there was, what's the other guy's name that I really want to mention right now, because he's really the one that it was, I'll think of his name as we go maybe. But he loved Lance McCullers, and he also loved Gibson. I mean, he didn't love Gibson, but he projected Gibson to be a breakout pitcher like years ago. He loved Lance McCullers too from the start. I remember arguing in Lance McCullers' rookie season. We argued about whether or not he was going to be able to. Let me see the years here with him, but that was a fun argument that we had, because it was back. So in 2017, Lance McCullers pitched 118 innings. And then he pitched 128 innings in 2018. He didn't pitch at all for 2019. And then in 2020, he pitched 55 innings. So he made 11 starts, and that's pretty good. So, but he had never pitched more than 125 innings at all. And he'd been in the majors for 6 seasons. And he never was able to do that. So that was my biggest issue with him. But if you take a look at his ground ball percentage, 56%. Last year, it was 59%. This guy induces a ton of ground balls. He has never had a ground ball rate less than 50. Not even close. His lowest ground ball percentage is 56, and that was this year. But this guy's inducing a ton of ground balls. Number one, it keeps runners off the base paths, because when you hit a ground ball, it's more likely that you're going to get thrown out. And then you look at the strikeout percentage, and you see that it is 24.7. That's actually the lowest that it's been, because last year he was striking out 27%, and his ground ball rate was 54%. So he was going crazy with the breakout specifics. He had 8, like his percentage, if you add 59.7 plus 24.7, I cannot do it in my head, but I mean, I could if I was paying that much attention. But anyway, it's way over 70. You look at some of these other pitchers, and next time you're looking at a young pitcher, and you know what? The more tools, the better. If it even might work, then maybe you should give it a try next year when you're looking at pitchers. You're saying to yourself, who has a chance to break out in 2022? I would say that it's as useful as any tool that I've found to project things than any tool that I've found. It compares up there. It should be something in the baseball forecaster. It really should, because he told me about this tool last year, and I have been looking at it ever since. And it is very much it just makes sense, reasonable. These two things that a pitcher does keeps runners from scoring, because it keeps them off the bases to begin with. Obviously, that's the most important things that a pitcher can do. So it makes total sense to look at these two, strikeout percentage and ground ball percentage. But nobody was ever really doing that before. And you are hearing it exclusively from Malpal I'm just the middleman. 11% walk rate. So Lance McCullers last year was absolutely a breakout according to these. And I think that we can look at the specific statistics that we want to look at. Let's look at ground ball. Okay, we're going to look at ground ball. Hold on, let's take a look at this. I'm going to Fangraphs, and I'm narrowing this down. Just one sec, I have to get rid of. At Fangraphs, if you can make custom leaderboards there. And we're going to look at the pitchers. We're going to look at the ground ball percentage. Okay. And we're going to look at the strikeout rate. Let me see. They have every kind of. Okay. Let me see. You have swinging strikes. Swing. I'm going to look at swinging strikes too. I like to look at that. And first pitch, we'll look at that. So where's the strikeouts though? Hold on a second. There's a gazillion of these. Now, what the hell? What's it called? I could just look at, oh, there it is. There it is. I just saw it. Okay, there's it. Let's take a look at these numbers for the last couple seasons. We have ground ball, swinging strike, first pitch strike, and strikeout rate. Let me just look at those two stats. And we will look at last year and see how this has worked out for the last couple years. We'll do from 2017 to 2021. That's what we'll do. All right, let's look at this. The guys, I would love to pull this into, I'm going to pull this into sheets so that I could see how many of these guys, well, we could just look at it. Look at Rich Hill, dude, Rich Hill. Okay, so you have on this list, of course, you have guys like just Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer. Chris Sale has the most strikeout. I wonder if this is all the seasons combined. Is this it? I want to look at individual seasons. I want to look at split. I mean, I don't want Chris Sale's. Maybe. Strikeout percentage is 35.9%. Jeez. And he's got a 42% ground ball rate. So usually you won't see a guy that is like really, I don't know. I think it's even better when they're more even keel. Like if the ground ball rate is only 30%, but the strikeout rate is like 40%, which is way lower and way higher than anybody else. I don't think I really like that. I like it more when they're, you know, not, I don't know. You look at his ground ball rate, it's not that great, but he does strike out a ton of batters, so it makes up for it. This is it. You got on this list though, and I'm pretty sure that this is combining from the years 2016, 2017 to 2021. That's a combine in all of these years. You have Corbin Burnes on here with a 47.7% ground ball rate and a 33.3% strikeout rate. That's crazy talk. That's definitely qualifying. You have Freddie Peralta on here. Well, he doesn't qualify. He's got 32 and 32. Freddie Peralta is not a breakout guy because of that. So, yay. That's interesting. Who else is on the list? Shane Bieber is here. Glass now. You have Trevor Bauer. Luis Severino is here. As far as the younger guys, like Brandon Woodruff has been here. Because, let's see what Brandon Woodruff does. 45% ground balls. 28% strikeout. You know, these guys that are striking out like 28% of the batters is that's pretty good. That's huge. I mean, it's crazy that there's this many of them. Actually, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but look at this. Over guys with a strikeout rate above 25%, 44 guys, 44 pitchers have a strikeout rate above 25%. Even Vince Velasquez has 25%. Is this the case? Vince Velasquez and Lance Lynn. You know, this isn't taking into consideration the number of innings that they're pitching. I know Vince Velasquez strikes out a lot of guys, but his ground ball rate is only 36. So he doesn't even come close to making the bar with a good pitcher. Giolito on here, 40% ground balls, 25% strikeouts. He's not making it. He did not make the cut. Lucas Giolito is not making the cut. Okay. Castillo, 26% strikeouts, 54% ground ball. He makes the cut. Who else? Let me see. Does Kershaw make the cut? Yes, Kershaw makes the cut. Clevenger, definitely. Hey, wait, Clevenger, 40% ground balls and 28% strikeout. he only gets to 68%, so he doesn't make the cut. Kluber. He might barely make it, but Gaussman, what's he doing? 42% ground balls and 24% strikeout. Gaussman making the cut? No, I don't think he's making it. This is really, but I'm not very good at math right now, but this is an interesting formula. Believe me, it really does work. So that's my best tool of the day. Everybody, enjoy the day. I hope it's sunny where you are, and I really hope that the sun is shining and that it's a wonderful day today. Enjoy the last game of baseball in the regular season. I think, of course, we'll be watching, but in and out we'll be watching, and I'm rooting for Seattle for sure. But they're not going to last if they get in there. I mean, let's be realistic. Is it realistic to even think that the Giants can last? It wasn't really realistic to think that the Giants could make it to where they are. Even though I loved it the whole year, they gave us no reason to not trust them. They have been in the lead in the National League West all season, and they are doing it with a bunch of pieces, okay? The not expensive pieces, like guys like Evan Longoria, Brandon Belt, these guys that I don't know. It's really exciting, but I know the secret. I read it at The Athletic. The secret to the Giants' success is the donuts. They have donuts before every day game, and this has been going on for a couple years now. And they get to have the best donuts wherever they go. They have a place that they get donuts, okay, for the team. And they're having like the donuts that are delicious, that are like bacon and all kinds of maple and whatever on the donuts. But I mean, they even they have a doctor that works with the team that is a nutritionist or something, and she's on board with it. She knows that they eat donuts every day game that they play. Every day game they have donuts. But they also feel like there's something to the fact that the donut is shaped like a zero, and so for pitchers the donuts are making them think that they're going to win, because that's a big fat zero that would go up for the hitters on the opposite team. So whatever city that they go to, they rave about the best donut place. And so anyway, everybody loves donuts, and I think that it's not the donuts, but it's the spirit of the team, the camaraderie of the team. The players get along with each other and respect each other and really like each other, and these are the teams that are doing well. And it cannot be tracked in statistics, but this is something that matters to the success of a team for sure. How well do they get along? Like Irwin, which is, Irwin's Willing, that Lenny talks about a lot, that is a great baseball mind and notices things that just he's the only one that notices it. So we really always appreciate anything. He's always talking to Lenny on the phone. They were partners when they both got into the fantasy industry way back, but they were partners. So Irwin said, he called up Lenny and he says, yeah, I mean, look at the body language of Pete Alonso when Javi Baez is having, doing something with his antics. Alonso does not seem impressed at Baez whatsoever. So he said to Lenny that this is why that these two are not going to be on the same team next year, because it doesn't seem like they get along very good. And he's probably right. You could definitely tell that Pete Alonso is not amused at all by Javi Baez's antics, nor is he amused at one. I looked up both of their names for news about just any other kind of interaction that they've had. And what popped up was when Pete Alonso was actually holding Javier Baez back because he was aggressively going, at something or somebody or whatever. There's pictures of Pete Alonso actually like holding him back. So that was a different situation. And I just don't think that Pete Alonso is liking his ways. It's kind of like, reminds me of what Puig would be like to deal with. this guy gets away with striking out a ton, and he's been able to get away with it. And at some point, you have to say, like, maybe this is just the way that he hits, and he's going to be successful. I mean, sometimes you have these outliers that, maybe their batting average on balls in play is going to be 400 every year. Doesn't matter, and that's just what they do. So after a while, you say, okay, it's not that big of a red flag if he does the same batting average on balls in play every year. I would say that statistic is useless in that situation. But for the most part, guys like him that strike out 30% of the time are not good hitters. They're just not good hitters. They're not hitting the ball, they're striking out. When they do hit, they get on base, they steal bases. Definitely he's been able to pull off like way crazy batting average, 300 batting average or close to it, and he's striking out 30% of the time. And I don't know if I've ever seen anybody be able to maintain that over a period of years. It will usually catch up with you. So it will be definitely interesting to see what happens. Where will Javi Baez go? They say, oh, he wants to play with Lindor. Nobody gives a crap that he wants to play with Lindor, okay? Nobody cares. And honestly, I think he's been very good since he came over, I think. But he really, aren't you supposed to feel like not that comfortable in your new ballpark, and you don't immediately go to your new team and start putting your thumbs down to them? Like you're supposed to be the guy that sits over in the corner and nobody notices you, okay? Because you haven't proven yourself yet, and this is New York, and the fans think that they own the team in New York, and rightfully so. Whatever, the fans are they're interested in the games. The Mets fans are sick and tired of losing all the time. They want to win. So they get a little bit testy, but they're not anywhere near close to the type of fans that the Yankees fans are. Because the Yankees fans, they don't give you, this is what happens when your team wins enough times that you just expect them to always be good. And if they're not the best team, then you're not happy about that, which I'm not dogging on it. I'm just saying. Who in their right mind would be the new guy on the team, come to the New York Mets Citi Field and come up with this plan with a couple other players? It was Kevin Pillar and someone else. There's 3 guys. Whatever it was so stupid. None of these guys are in any position to be like doing that. If they were Jacob deGrom and he did it, I think that I would not have a problem with that too much. But regardless of the matter, this is not. Who does this? Javi Baez goes to a brand new team and he starts thumbs downing the fans. Like, what? That's not a great way to get. Everybody's usually scared to come to New York, and they should be, because you never know how they'll receive you if you don't do well. Not Javi Baez. He just comes on over and starts being like, F you. So that's fine. Sandy Alderson was not having that, though, dude. He was so pissed off about it. He said it will not be tolerated, this type of way. We will never disrespect the fans. They have every right to be pissed off at you guys. So even the owner, the new owner, he was on Twitter saying that they just weren't. This isn't because they were doing bad, but I think it was because of their attitude overall, their attitude in general. Their vibe is not cohesive at all. So whether or not Pete Alonso and Javi Baez get along, I think is totally moot, because Baez already made his path to the future with the plan to boo the fans to their faces. It did not work out well for his career. And I would say, I would guess, this is just a guess, of course, that he is going to get, he's not going to get paid as much as he was going to get paid. Because he is a dynamic player. You got to give him that. He's a dynamic player. He is a defensive guy. He is absolutely all around a baseball nut. He has the instincts of a baseball player for sure. He's great fun to watch, but he's not been. Remember when he was I just remember a play watching him defensively in the playoffs or the World Series when he was with the Cubbies, and he was just fun to watch because it would be like he's floating on air. He was just quick and he was able to, and he's cocky too. Anyway, I like him, but he doesn't have he's not good for fantasy. And every time I say that, people go, oh, everybody, she said that Javi Baez was not going to be this good. Yes, I did. I've been saying it ever since I found out about his strikeout rate. I've been saying it, but I didn't even know about his strikeout rate for several years. I was totally in the dark about it. So I like to just point these things out once I figure it out. Like one time, Lou Landers pointed out to me that Jose Abreu has been getting 100 RBIs for the last 4 seasons or something. Now, this was a year or so ago, but Abreu was on a team that was horrible at the time. And although I did like Jose Abreu, I would have never guessed that he was getting 100 RBIs on such a horrible team. I would have never guessed it. Then I looked at his numbers and I say, holy crap, this guy gets 100 RBIs every year, rain or shine. Doesn't matter what the rest of the people are doing. Now, you got to give him even more credit than you would give to a guy that does it on a good team, because how do you even get RBIs when, the rest of your lineup stinks? It makes it much more difficult. Or you could be like Jake DeGrom. How can you do this well when your team won't score any runs for you? Seattle pitchers have the same problem. Pittsburgh, I don't know. Pitchers aren't that good in Pittsburgh anyway, but when your team is not going to score any runs, Jacob DeGrom, how is he doing so well? You would get so frustrated after a while. Why hasn't Jacob DeGrom just thrown his arms up and said, for crying out loud, people, I would like to get a win here. He deserves it, but he never gets it because his team won't score any runs. So I would say that I got to give more credit to DeGrom for the fact that he doesn't ever act like an ass. He doesn't ever get annoyed at his team. At least he doesn't show it. He's, so what? My team sucks. But Abreu, the same thing. How is he getting 100 RBIs on this team, the White Sox, when they were horrible? Anyway, that was good to point out. That was kind of like something I wasn't aware of. Anyway, that's what we do. Try to point these out, the nuggets. Looking up Jose Abreu right now. Because he is, once again, one of the best seasons. Again, this guy, okay. This is why I'm going to take a snapshot of this and I'm going to show you in the chat room what it looks like. This is why Abreu is a phenomenal player and it gets very underappreciated in fantasy. I don't know if he still will. I mean, maybe that isn't going to happen anymore, but I hope he does get undervalued again, because take a look at what I just found. His statistics, look at the number of times that he has surpassed 100 RBIs. This would be every single season except for the 60 game season and one other season, 2018. This guy has had over 100 RBIs from 2014 till now. And if you look back at the team that he was on where he was hitting and getting this is his batting average, 317. It's not good this year, actually. It's 261. It went down crazy, though. You have to wonder for him I got to look. Let me look at his strikeouts and try to figure this out. I'm just blabbing away. So you guys, go about your day if you want. Most people already did, so that's okay. I don't need any audience at all. Let me look at his underlying things. Why is his batting average fluctuating so much? He's walking more. He's doing okay in the walk department. His strikeouts are the same, pretty much the same. His contact is not bad. His contact is okay, a little bit down, but not. These 3 things I look at, that's the first thing I say, what's going on? His strikeouts, his walks, and his contact rate. They're all similar to what they've been in the past. He's walking way more now than he used to. But back in, his batting average was like 260. Then it was 317. It was 304, then 260. Then it was 280, 317, and 260 again. That's a huge I don't usually see these batting averages fluctuate this much between seasons. So then I look at his other stats and find out in 2018, maybe he was hurt. 2018 and this year, he's batting 260. Let's find out. Still, he wasn't striking out then. I don't see anything that would tell me why he did that. Why is his batting average fluctuating? What else could it be? What else affects your batting average? Strikeouts? What else? Strikeouts, walks? I don't know what else would affect your batting average. So batting average is based on the number of times that you get a hit or divided by the number of times that you went up to bat. I don't know. I'm good. I'm done yapping. I can't figure out how to get the batting average at this point. It's time to go and enjoy my day. So everybody, enjoy your days. Goodbye. See you next week. Hopefully. I'm like George. Oh, wait. Today is George. Don't forget George. He'll be on at 6:30 tonight. Roto Imbeciles coming up.